First, Andreas, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, starting to get spring wise as we were talking about outside. So yeah, it eases up a bit.
So obviously, you're not the same person you were 10, 15, even 20 years ago when you made also all these other kinds of music and then other albums. And there has been somewhat of a gap. So when you as a personally, but also as a band, revisited Deathstars and started to come together, I think it's around 2017, 18 maybe. What was the mindset? Because you had changed as people somewhat, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really know because you always look to yourself and we don't have a direction where we're supposed to go and this is
Okay.
what we're gonna do now and we don't really we're not that smart actually. We just go with the instincts more. So we really don't take a step back and then, oh, we have changed this much.
Okay.
Why is this happening and so on? But of course, it's been a development, and also Deathstars. We toured so much for quite a while and just lived from the music. Nowadays, we started to do other stuff as well. So that, of course, has an impact on. It's not fully as insanely destructive and partying as it was during those years. So, no, but it's going to be interesting to see when we go on tour and see how we have developed. As I think that's the first time when we really see if something has happened. I don't think so. It's probably just the same. So we'll see.
What is it about going on tour then that invites these how would you call them? Not distractions, but kind of temptations, or all these kind of the rock and roll lifestyle as people tend
but
to think of it.
It's a place where you don't have any. It's a kind of vacation for the mental state or the state of mind because you don't have. The only thing you need to do is pretty much perform and it's a way to stay in I don't know. It's a place where you're kind of free. There's no moral issues really. It's what happens in Vegas for us, kind of. So, but it's of course a kind of escape from if you compare to other segments in life. So touring, yes, it's kind of simple.
And from what I can understand, but I've never been a touring musician, but it's also, again, a lot of nightlife where during the day you're in the bus and traveling and preparing for the live show. And then once the live show is complete, then you're kind of free and you get to spend some time in the city or wherever you are. So what are your fondest memories of being on tour then?
Yeah, but I think, of course, with this band, we always had great fun hanging out, and of course, I can't tell. It's no use telling stories from, but it's rewarding in that way that we just do it. If you go out, it's just it's. As I said, it's very, very different from being at home for us, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, we really appreciate it. Skinny the most, I think.
Okay.
Disco guy. But yeah, looking forward to that, of course. But we've always been a band that it's been a lot about the nightlife and whatever comes with it. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point, I suppose, during the hiatus or break that there was any doubt that a new album would be made, or was it always like, okay, let's just take it easy for a couple of years and then we'll make another album?
Yeah, but no, the problem with this album, I think, was because we almost had it done and then the tours were postponed because of COVID, and then we started to rewrite the songs. We took away some songs, we wrote some new songs. another tour was postponed. You know, it was just like we never got to the point where we were just like, okay, now we can deliver the album and start touring. It felt like forever. So yeah, that was kind of irritating segment of time, kind of. But still, me and Emil, we wrote a lot of music during that period. But it's but of course it was frustrating to never really. But now we're super pleased with the album. Of course, it feels more. The process of recording it, I think, was. I have, even though it was, as I told you, frustrating, but it was also the most joyful album to write, I guess, since Termination Bliss or something. So it was nice.
Is it because you had a lot of time? Because you could kind of think about things?
Yeah. It was absolutely a big factor for that. And because you can step back, listen to it for a while, every track, and then get a new perspective on it and so on. It's not really super stressed. So absolutely, yeah. But that also can be a bad thing because you overthink the music and so on. You do music also, or you write music?
To say that I do music is an exaggeration. I have a piano and I try to play it every once in a while, but that's about it. But I enjoy the process and just for fun, you know.
Yeah.
But I definitely get what you're saying with overthinking, because especially for in the production process, which Emil does as well. I think there's so many things you can do and alter and tinker with. And you even mentioned rewriting some songs. So what was kind of when did you have the foundation of what would be the album? When did you have the first couple of songs that you were happy with and thought, okay, this is going in the right direction?
I think it is This Is, as you just mentioned.
Okay.
That was the first song we wrote, or Atomic Prayer or something. But it's when we know pretty much when it's a good song that we want to put some energy into it. But we write so many sketches and songs, and me and Emil. So it's we're really, really picky when it comes to that stuff. So I guess This Is maybe 5 years ago we wrote that or something.
Okay.
And Midnight Prayer was 1 year ago or something.
Okay.
Or Night Party. So it's very, very different. It spans from a long time, and it's like we've been very productive. Maybe it's been 1 year where we haven't been writing anything at all during this, and then very, very much for a few months and so on. So it's kind of not consistent, so to speak. But we've never been a super productive band when it comes to that. So.
What is the way that you write then? Is it because you mentioned all those sketches? Can you start with, for instance, This Is has that incredible riff. I mean, it's a really good opener to the album, I think. So was that kind of then the starting point? And how do you, as a group, write? Do you build on each other's ideas, or are you all in the same room when you write? How does that work?
No, it's me and Emil who writes this songs pretty much, and then no, it can be sketch. You usually play on piano, or you have like this a synth thing or a riff, and then we build it from there. So he sent me some stuff, see what I can do with it, what kind of vocal arrangements, and then we take it from there. And that's how we've been doing it for almost. I mean, me and Emil have been playing music together since we were kids. Almost 30 years we've been songs together. So that's exactly how it's always been working since we were like 13 or something. So just a guitar riff, and I can do, when we did death metal. So it's the same kind of ritual to it. Yeah.
Are the lyrics then your kind of area where it's mostly you? Okay.
Yeah. Only. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take This Is, because we're talking about that song. When do the lyrics come in for a song like that, for instance? Do you have to riff first, and then kind of as you are working with Emil, then the lyrics come into your head, or do you really separate yourself?
But usually you can hear the words pretty much, or the arrangements or the melodies when I listen to his stuff. I think we're living kind of symbiosis in that way. And then, of course, it can be banal themes like Midnight Party, or can be more like things about situations that kind of describe something in a scenario in your life, like in maybe Churches of Oil or Atomic Prayer. And this is more like conflict-driven songs, a song. Pretty primitive. I mean, it's about conflicts inside of you and so on. A theme that you always deal with in Deathstars, I guess, and then go from it and so on. So, yeah.
And you mentioned working with Emil, obviously, for 30 plus years, and now you do have a new drummer since a couple of years ago, Nitro.
Yeah.
Has that what was that, having a new member in the band for this new album, and kind of did that change anything at all?
Yeah, of course it changes a lot, and it doesn't change. I don't know, it's like two sides of the coin, but it's of course nice with Marcus, who plays the drums. But he comes also from a very different area. Like he's a real like heavy metal drum. So that's nice. You know, he loves Judas Priest and that kind of stuff that we grew up with also. So yeah, he brings some fresh air in the band, I guess. Yeah.
And obviously you haven't been able to tour with him yet. So is that going to be I don't know, because I think he joined in 2019, and then obviously you couldn't tour until maybe last year somewhere. So being together
we did some shows with him, some festivals like Wacken and Raspop and so Summer Breeze, I think. But then so it all works fine. You know, it's very nice. He's super professional. So it's it's going to be interesting. He seems to be very fond of touring. He played in other bands. So yeah. I mean, this is the first time he tours with Deathstars, and I'm sure he's gonna enjoy the pleasures of the flesh while out on the road.
Let's dive into a song which I found very interesting, especially musically as well, Between Volumes and Voids. What was the starting point for that track?
Yeah, but that was also the kind of the riff and the drums and so on, and then it just fell to place like this. And I had that kind of phrase I had it with me for a while, between, you know, kind of what is sane and what is absolutely not sane, is kind of between intelligence and absolutely nothing, kind of that. So but it's that song, what do you think about it?
I found it interesting where this is just what I hear in it, but that it's written on the piano, I think, but maybe it's not. But I like the kind of piano or keys kind of segment in it, and it has an interesting melody because of that kind of key or piano sound.
Yeah, but it's a kind of interesting track. Sometimes you just, because we work, me and Emily, sometimes you work with one song, then we're just fed up with that, then you jump to another and so on. So it was, for me, sometimes I really can't tell the songs apart.
Fair enough.
Because during a studio night, then you can just, we're in 5 different parts, you know, and rewrite this and rewrite that. So yeah, I really need to actually sit down and listen to because I don't listen to it that much after you're done. You know, you're just like, okay, I'll leave it. Now it's out there for else to listen to. But it's, I should, listen to it once or twice for the sake of doing interviews also.
No, but I can imagine you listen to it thousands and thousands of times when
producing. You write it,
so.
Yeah, because you know, then I'm done. You know,
I can imagine.
It's not like I walk around listening to my own music. I would. doesn't make sense.
I did write a line down from that song. No one in here gets out alive. That line, and you kind of mentioned the nihilism, but not that this is necessarily.
Yeah, but that line is, but I like that because it's such a cliche. Also,
right?
It's like an old horror movie line or something very simple. It's like poesy from a 13-year-old guy being, sitting in the school bench. So
sure.
I liked it because it was so banal, kind of. So sometimes you find it's nice with that kind of level, so to speak, or no level on lyrical to put against heavier stuff.
No, but I think you've already, as a band, you already or have always kind of walked that line between kind of tongue in cheek and being very serious, and there's always elements of both in it, I suppose. So what has your approach been to that? Do you like to put a bit of humor in it and kind of not take things too seriously?
But then for me, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very, of course, it deals with real matters for me. But I really don't want it to be pretentious. So I can't take myself seriously. I can't take nothing too seriously. At least myself. I'm not that. I have a very big problem with pretentious stuff, and then I'm also confused about people actually getting it with Deathstars because it doesn't make sense with that humor, and it's still for real, and it is like pretentious when it comes to the music, but then we have a thing. Then it's not because we're over the top when it comes to, everything is just doesn't make sense. So for me, and this is, of course, we're aware of that, but it's I think for me, Deathstars, it's important that it's a question mark behind the band, even for us in the band. It shouldn't make sense. It's not like Man of War with it's going to, Man of War we worship the stereotypes. We come from a totally different, angle. So should be a question mark behind it.
But that's I find that interesting because you've been away for a couple of years and you released a new album. Are you very anxious of what people might hear in it, or is that kind of in your mind, especially these days?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not at all. I don't think I've ever been.
Okay.
Actually, because there's nothing really I can do about it, more than. I actually am, but we're very different. Also, us as people in the band. This is my approach to it,
Sure.
So, but no, I really. It's not a personal matter when it comes to it's what it is. It's music. It's rock music.
And that's sometimes the difficulty of what I do when I interview people, because it's I kind of have to be analytical about something that sometimes you don't need to analyze the way I see it.
Yeah. But of course But again, try not to. But I know what you mean. I wrote music magazines before a long time and so on. So that's what you like, when you to analyze music. I do that as well. But the thing is that with that, it's more about instinct. It's not as much image or anything in the band, which maybe you think because of the visual part of it. But I just think it's what we do with the band. There's no shortcuts to a good song. So we just and we always nowadays just look at ourselves. We compare our songs to earlier songs we did, and so it kind of got a life of its own, the band. So it's all about the music, and it's like the cheapest prostitute on the street. You can find whatever you want in it.
Fair enough. Yeah. But I do find that interesting because, as you mentioned, you all come from very well, very different, but you have different musical influences and musical backgrounds. And I even remember we had an interview with you years ago where we talked with you about Dolly Parton and kind of listening to country music and that kind of stuff. So with that in mind, and you being 4 or 5 people in the band, what does make a good song to you?
Was it you and me who did that?
It wasn't me. It was my colleague.
Ah, yeah, I remember that. Wasn't that in Dublin or something?
It must have been in Amsterdam, I'm guessing, but I'm not sure. I think I wasn't with the company yet.
Yeah, but I remember this with country music, of course. I'm a big, we listen to a lot of. I don't listen to the music. People think that I'm listening, this kind of music that we get labeled as.
Sure.
Not really into that at all. Yes. So it's more like the old rock music, like everything from MC5, New York Dolls, Kiss, Iggy, that to thrash and black death metal. And I'm not that, I don't have a clue almost what's going on today. That kind of, but I listen to the same old albums, which I grew up with over and over again. That's about it. It's super boring, actually, but it's how it is. We have also the same kind of music taste in the band, kind of, but it just points out that different directions if you really, go to the depth on each member. But yeah.
But what makes a good Deathstars song then? Because I do think listening to the album as well, there's some really catchy riffs, there's some really catchy hooks and melody lines. There is a certain, I don't know, accessibility to it in a way. What do you think makes Deathstar or makes a good Deathstar song?
Yeah, I don't know. It should be able to have different qualities in different songs, but I think with this album it's much more outgoing, which is good. It's because the previous one, The Perfect Cult, was introvert even for me. I mean, it's very, very dark. It's hard to get a grasp of it. This one was, as I told you, more enjoyable to write, and it's more varied. It's a bit more outgoing, So it's if you're asking about that and we put it in the context of the new album, I would say it's more like party darkness. It's that kind of. It should be able to have a good party to it, but it also have this frustration and it's there's melancholy in it also, of course, and so I guess the aggression and the darkness is essential for the band, absolutely, and it's kind of, yeah.
No, but this balance that you talk about then, and especially kind of this emphasis on the nightlife and kind of going out. Is this then partly, and even though you started writing and working on the album well before the pandemic, but is that also kind of part of it, that everybody was locked inside and you couldn't really go to parties and have that nightlife experience?
We're not that banal.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think it's only one song that we have, but it's the district. I wanted to write Midnight Party is because I wanted to write lyrics that were about like the opposites of how David Lee Roth would do it. It's not like a pool party rock song, but the worst party you've ever been to, which was about us when we were living in Gothenburg. You were up from Wednesday to Sunday every week, pretty much. So that it made us insane. So eventually we moved from there. But that story is about that pretty much, and has a tendency to also, you can apply some of our parts of our life on that theme as well. But then again, the other tracks are not about nothing about that, but it takes place in that kind of environment, in that room of the city. That's more like because I really don't want to. I want it to be situations, so it should be visual. The lyrics, not just like you have a lot of cool words. It should describe a situation, and that situation usually is in the framework of the city, or in a room which is like which I can almost, see how it looks like when I get the music from Emil, and then I start to, build it together, kind of. So it's not about partying except from that song, but it's about situations that trigger something that is very like maybe morally questionable, and how you deal with it, and it's chronicles. I mean, we don't tell any truths. It's just an aspect of a certain theme, and from the black angle, because we like the conflict in the music and the progression it holds, kind of. So,
yeah, this is maybe a stupid question then, but I mean, this is a phenomenon in society, and I think in people's minds anyway. This to be attracted to the dark side in a way, if that makes sense. Why do you think so many people are? Why is it so much more into? And I'm very much the same. But why do you think that is? And why do you think the dark side of things, and then those moral questions you have in those moments and situations?
But I think it's pretty simple, because when you're happy and it's sunny outside, and you just you have intercourse all the time and just partying, and it's summer, there's really no conflict in it. You're just there, So the dark, the what is the dark part, so to speak, that's the only place where you meet something that goes clinch to when you're in total balance. So, and only then you can progress, and develop as a person. So you need the conflict to go through it, and then you progress, and that's life, So I think the darkness is super important for that. And so darkness is positive in that aspect, kind of.
Yeah.
So of course, that's a theme that's always been. I mean, you couldn't write a book if it wasn't for the dark. You can't tell a story if you don't have the dark thing, because then you have no progress. There's nothing to tell. Look at the Bible, even they had to put the snake in Eden, because otherwise there wouldn't be something to tell.
Right.
It would be perfect, but it was so boring to be perfect, so they had to put the snake, and then So we need that just to tell stories, and we love, stories. That's what we grow and learn from, and experiences. So I think it's that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think also just going on what you said just now, it's also inevitable, this chaos, this friction. It's inevitable in life, in the way humans are set up in a way.
Yes, of course it is. It can't work in any other direction. But sometimes I can hear, lyrics in songs where it's no conflict almost, or like a happy reggae song or something. And I can't understand it, because there's no storytelling. There's not. That's what I like about country also. It can be just someone shooting someone at and then they're good at storytelling. So.
Yeah, for me, somebody like Townes Van Zandt, he was really good at that. Of kind of those gut punch type of songs where you listen to it, it's like, oof.
Yeah, fantastic.
Last question then. And we talked a little bit about the darkness, but when did the title "Everything Destroys You" came to you?
That was also, I was sitting in our cabin in Strömstad on the West Coast, that I mentioned. Because Emil sent me some sketches, and he said, and then the phrase came up. And I liked it because it was kind of something that Iggy Pop could have written. Everything destroys you, that kind of, the kind of artist I really enjoy. So I think it was called "Everything Destroys Us" first, and then "Destroys You," because that's the two main lines in the chorus. But it was kind of suitable for the album, kind of that Deathstar-esque kind of humor to it. But it's also truth. At a certain point, everything will destroy, So it's typical Deathstars, I think.
I saw that clip on Instagram about Angel of Fortune and Crime, where there's maybe a glimmer of hope. Is that kind of important in the music as well, to not be just see the darkness, but also have that glimmer of hope?
But that's what, like we spoke about. You have to have the
balance.
Yeah. No, but that line in the end of Angel of Fortune and Crime, the reason why I said it is because it differs so much from how the rest of the song is. And then I just came up with that melody. So it's weird, but it gave some, it had some function in the song, because it actually lifts it in some way and makes it weirder. So, absolutely. You need some light here and there, of course. I'd rather be in the light than in, if it was just pitch black. But it's again, it's it should be party darkness somewhere. It can't be pretentious.
Sounds good. So, Andreas, may I thank you for your time?
Yeah, thank you. All right.